Good morning, everybody. It's great to be with you today on another one of the Leadership Greater Washington Frontline Conversations. We're thrilled to have with us Angela Franco, the President and the CEO of the DC Chamber of Commerce, and a member of the class of 2013, Living the Dream, Angela. So we got a lot of your classmates on the call. So I want to welcome you. And first, let me just start off by asking you, how are you feeling? How's your health? How's your staff's health? How's everything going?
Well, so far so good, but I've been very conscious of what we're going through. I mean, it's not taking it for granted, going for walks, eating healthy, taking care of the people you love, not getting exposed, being very prudent in what we do, and, being with family. So it has been a difficult time for a lot of us, and it was a big change. But, adapting to change is part of what we need to do. But thank you for asking.
So are you all working from your homes now?
So we are, everybody's working from the home. We go to the office once or twice a week, depends on what we need to do. But most everybody is working out of their homes. All events also they're virtual. We only organized the golf tournament at the end of August. That was the only in-person event that we have done. We did the social responsible golf tournament. Everybody was with their masks, but it was really wonderful to see people. For a person like me that loves people, it's very difficult to not have that contact constantly. So it was a great opportunity just to connect and to see people and to see them in person, even at a distance. So it was great.
So how long do you plan to work from home? Have you set a date on coming back to the office? Or are you going to come back to the office?
It is so, we're really going day by day. For now, we're going to follow the mayor's instructions. And, in a lot of meetings that I've been with membership organizations on a local and a national level, they're not projecting things to go back even too close to be normal until September of next year. So I'm projecting a little bit based on that. But for now, it's going to be distance, working from home.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing as well. We've been working from home for 6 months now, and we're going to keep it that way for a while, just to be safe for us and everyone else. So
I just think that for organizations like ours, that a lot of what we bring is networking. We just have to reinvent the way we help people connect, right? And it's in a different way, like what we're doing today. And we are looking also for spaces that we can help people connect and look for opportunities, even if it is virtual. But it's a different way of thinking. I mean, we have to reinvent the networking piece as well.
So you've been doing this job for 3 months now, and when I heard you had taken the position, I was thrilled. I thought that's a perfect fit. But you told me that some people thought you were crazy for leading a chamber in the middle of a pandemic when the economy is tanking. So can you talk about that thought process some, and what led you to take the job, and what your friends said about it?
Sure. So, I mean, I 3 years ago, when I stepped down from the Hispanic Chamber, I needed to take a break. And it is important to recognize those spaces as well, when you really have to, stop, take a break and really realign with who you are and what you want to do and what you're about. And really in those 3 years for me was very important to connect with me and understand that some of the roles that I feel very comfortable doing are in leadership, not because I want to lead or I have no, but it's a place that is comfortable for me and that I feel, I can bring things to the table, and I love working with people, love coaching, and I love the business community. So after some time, I started thinking, okay, maybe it's time for me to go back to what I love to do. That is working with businesses and working with people. And when I get to that place, they called me and asked me if I wanted to run the chamber. And, I said, okay, I mean, this what I love to do. And I said, I know it's in the middle of the pandemic, but I just think that when you lead, you step up to the plate in any situation. And I said, I know it's not a challenging, I know it's a challenging situation, but I know there's a way. And that's why I said, I'm going to take on, and I took the risk, and I'm here. And some people were like, Angela, sometimes people look at government as a safe place. And I don't know if it is or if it is not, but for me, what moves me is the passion, what I love to do, working with people and really contributing to the community, because at the end, we're in this together, and it's about helping the community move forward. And I thought this was something that I could do, and that I could help the business community move forward during these difficult times.
But I'll bet you're getting a lot of inspiration from your members. I mean, it's amazing to me how, I've done this my whole life. The people I work with, the people that I serve, I get more inspiration from them than I think they get from me. And that's got to be very uplifting for you at this time.
It is. And we have been, that has been one of the frontline priorities that I've put since I started. I really want to work with small businesses, meet with them, understand what they're going through, understand what we can do to help them, because sometimes it's being with them or having a conversation with them or helping think about their strategy in a different way, or connecting them with somebody that can help them with their social media, and really being a source of support and a source of love and a source of ideas for small businesses. So absolutely. And there's so many people that have reinvented themselves. Sometimes you don't know what you're about until you're put in a tough situation, and the best out of you comes out. And you see a lot in entrepreneurs, and that's what I love about them, because you're reinventing yourself constantly. I mean, it's always dynamic, it's always in movement, it's always looking for new ideas, for opportunities, and reinventing their business. So right now, a lot of businesses had to go through that process of reinventing themselves. And it is fascinating to see. I'm totally with you. I'm more inspired by them than by me. And that's what inspires me every day.
So we're seeing a lot of reinvention. We're seeing a lot of innovation. It's kind of it is a very exciting time, I think, to be out there in the world, changing things at a very rapid pace. So what kinds of services are your members looking for now? What are their biggest needs?
So in the different focus groups we have done, that interestingly enough, when the State of the District report came out, there were 3 top things that businesses were looking for. 1, financial assistance, but not so much to give them the money, but to really give them the tools to understand their financials and to start connecting with financial institutions. That's a big deal, especially with the experience that we have with the PPP loans. A lot of businesses missed the opportunity because they didn't have a relationship with a bank, or they didn't have the financials in place. The second thing is marketing and communications. And the third thing is technology. So basically helping them with the social media, since everything is virtual. Smaller businesses didn't have like a website, or maybe if they had it, it was obsolete or it was not up to date. So they're looking for a lot of that kind of support. Those are the 3 main areas that they're looking for support. And we're going to continue to do those focus groups. I love them because it's an open conversation like the one we're having today, where they share the struggles they go through and what we can do to help them move to a better place.
So you referenced your 2020 State of Business report that the Chamber released, I think, yesterday. And it talks about going from pandemic to recovery. So talk to us a little bit about that, and how do we go into recovery, and what are the things that we need to be looking out for?
Yeah. So we did the State of the District report, and most of the information in the report that is available online now is about, what had happened to the economy and to small businesses since the pandemic started. So, closures, unemployment, the loans, and it's not an easy report to read, as we all know the situation. So right now, what we could do is really, first of all, support a business. Just think about what you do on your day by day, support a small business. Everything helps. And if you're working with a small business or you can provide assistance, please do. At the Chamber, we're going to start a program of technical assistance where we're going to put a lot of our efforts in the three areas that I mentioned before. And the second thing, it is important that we work together. This is not a time to be all, I mean, everybody, what's there for me, but there's what's there for all of us. And specifically in the district, the business community is working hard to stay together and work together and really protect the business community on the legislative side, in many fronts that we have to really advocate for them and really be united for them. This is a time to be united. And the third thing is, we have to look for a way that go back safely to work. Because as you know, Doc, that's what moves the economy. And people go to the office, they go and eat outside. And we just have to figure out a way to start, going back to the office, even if it is not going to be at the same level, in a safe way, to start being there. I mean, having traffic with individuals that can use the services from small businesses.
So we're hearing from a lot of people that they really won't be comfortable going back to work until there's a vaccine for the coronavirus. And the Greater Washington Partnership actually did a survey of that, where I think it was close to 70% of the businesses surveyed said that's what they're waiting for. So are you hearing that from your members? Is that something that they're concerned about, or how are they trying to move forward when there's no vaccine available yet?
See, no, it's going to take time. And, we're not only concerned about that. First of all, people are learning that, a lot of businesses can move forward without having a physical location. So that's going to have a great impact on all the commercial real estate in 2 or 3 years. When the leases are up, a lot of companies are going to look for a smaller space, or maybe, they can go virtual and have a space like a shared space or something like that. That would work. So yes, we're hearing the same thing. And it's just going to take time. And I think that if you do it safely, if you can do it and if you do it safely, it's a great way of supporting a small business. But yes, I mean, that's the reality, Doc. I mean, a lot of people are not going to go back to normal, and if there's a vaccine, you don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, I think this is changing the way we're doing business. It's changing completely the landscape in the way we're connecting before. Other opportunities are opening in technology, international, because you can connect better with people and you can do it online, and you're not thinking about travel and you're not thinking a lot about other things. But that's the reality. That's what we need to work around.
Well, the pandemic certainly has changed the way Leadership Greater Washington does business. We've totally revamped. We're doing a lot more of these kinds of conversations and webinars for our members. We're reaching out to people that we hadn't heard from in quite some time because they lived in other parts of the country, the world, and now they can come and do our virtual events with us. So that's been great to see. So we're reconnecting with a lot of people. But it really has changed how we do things in the virtual environment. And a lot of it we're going to keep. We're going to keep the majority, I think, of what we've done and how we've modified it. And I think we're providing more value to our members now than we ever have. And we're certainly working harder than we ever have. So again, it gets back to that innovation that you talked about earlier, about using this as an opportunity to refine your business and make yourself more successful going into the future. We have a question from Sandy Hallmark about school openings and what's the impact of that. So we've talked a lot with other speakers about childcare, daycare, schools, how that if those aren't functioning, it's very difficult for parents to go back to work if there's no one to help with the children. So what's the chamber doing in terms of that?
Well, at this point, we really don't have a specific initiative for childcare. But yes, Andy, tell me about it. I have an 11-year-old boy. He goes to special education, and it has been very difficult for me. In my personal case, I had to find a tutor, and I always think about people, I always think about that. So I think that also one of the things that I've heard is flexibility in the workplace. And, maybe a 1-year-old you cannot bring to an office, but a 10-year-old you could bring to an office and, set up a little space where he can do his virtual schooling from there, and really having, more flexible policies around kids, because it's really a stress. And for us that are professionals and our mothers, it's always a struggle. It's always a struggle because your heart is with your child. And, at the same time, I love what I do, but, at the end of the day, my primary responsibility is be a mother. And it's just, unless that goes back, and, I don't think there's even, and the other thing that concerns me greatly is that, private schools are opening, right? And public schools are closed. So that can create an even bigger disparity. As a matter of fact, meet Matthew.
Hi.
Hey, Matthew, how are you doing?
Okay.
¿Me puedes dar un
Ve ahorita que ya voy para allá. Ve, por favor. Cierra ahí. Okay. Welcome to Mother's World.
There you go.
Okay. That was perfect. Huh? Anyway, so yeah, it is a challenge, but those are the kind of, like, exactly what happened today can happen any minute. And what you can what do you tell your child? Don't come into the room? No. It is part of education, and it is great that they see. One of the greatest things that I see about him seeing you working is responsibility, because you're working from home, but you're doing what you need to do. The same as they have to be doing what they need to do, right? They have to be at school responsible, and mommy has to be working responsibly. So seeing that is great. But yes, unless schools is a big challenge as well. And, I'm concerned about the disparity, and that's what the experts have talked a lot about, like disparities of kids in public school not going to school, and kids in private school being able to go to school and having a different kind of education. And I'm also very concerned about special education. And that's something that affects me directly. So when it goes to special education, they need more special education, attention, one-on-one, additional support that they're actually not getting with this kind of virtual education.
Your classmate, Perry Pigeon Hooks, just gave a big shout out to Matthew. So.
Oh, Perry, thank you. Yeah, Perry and Matthew they're buddies. So.
That is a concern. We're hearing it from all kinds of people about, are we giving up basically a year of schooling in schools because of this? And is the virtual environment really working or not? And I think that, from my knowledge, the school systems are trying as hard as they can to get back to the classroom, but it's very, very concerning, very dangerous sometimes. And they're sort of struggling with all that. I saw where the district announced that they might open up some younger or allow younger children to go back to school soon. So that could be an improvement.
Mm-hmm.
It is,
that can help.
It's a massive undertaking to try to teach someone in the classroom like that with the coronavirus around. It's just, I feel very sorry for the kids and the parents and the teachers and the administrators who are trying.
Yeah, it is very difficult. My family has a school in Colombia. We have around 630 students. And when they announced, because Colombia, like the United States, like Colombia, like many countries in the world except Sweden and a couple more that are open, are closed, and schools are closed. And we had to do the same thing. We had to go virtual, and it is challenging all around the world. So we're not like the only ones going through these. And what you were saying, Doug, is what I've done mentally what I elaborated. I was like, okay, well, he's going to lose 1 year, and then next year it may be different. But I'm looking at it that way. And I'm not saying losing 1 year, because we're spending quality time together and we're doing things that are educational somehow, like cooking or, having different conversations or going for walks. Things that can put us together and that can help us bond in a different way.
So you mentioned earlier about advocating for your members with the DC government. And we got a question from Kevin Reggie, another one of your classmates, about are there any reforms in the public sector that you're looking at that you think are essential to a strong business recovery? I think one reform you had mentioned earlier as well was the lack of this relationship between small business and banks in terms of the PPP loans, and how if you didn't have a bank advocating for you, you were pretty much out of luck.
Yeah.
So clearly that's something that you said you're working on. That's something that needs to be fixed. But any other kinds of reforms that you're looking at or discussing with your members?
Yeah, we're looking at different areas. One of the areas, and Kevin knows this, is looking at the CBE, because there's a reform in place, and I think that it's not a time to make those kind of changes. The second thing that we're looking at is taxes. The CFO just released the budget, and we want to make sure that expenses are reviewed before they tax any business, especially during these times. We have been a big advocate. When the tax ad, when they were going to implement the tax ad, we opposed that strongly. So those are some of the initiatives that we're doing right now. And we're having monthly meetings with the CFO and the Business Coalition. Working closely with the Business Coalition is another big step, and really, working together in coming strong together, because everybody was like going on their own little circle, and I think we really have to come together. We're also supporting the Tax Revision Commission to be reinstated for a tax review again. And those are like the main initiatives that we're working on right now.
So we've got a question from our chair, Mahan Tavakoli, about your perspective on the future of chambers of commerce post-pandemic, the value proposition for members moving forward. And you had talked earlier about the networking that you do and how that has changed dramatically. Where do you see chambers going in the future, and in the role of chambers? How do you see them impacting the business community?
Right. So I look at Chamber of Commerce as a convener. I've always looked at, as a unifier. I think that a Chamber of Commerce is in the middle of the different spheres of influence, like government, corporations, the small businesses. And I think that's really the value proposition that a chamber brings now, and that will continue to bring in the future. Even though, we can have systems in place and whatever, that the capacity that a chamber has to connect the different dots in an economic cycle is the value that a Chamber of Commerce brings. So bringing, employment opportunities, bringing opportunities for businesses, connecting, being able to open those doors on the federal government space, on the international space, on the corporate space, is something that I see is the value that a Chamber of Commerce brings. And also being a cheerleader. I always look also at the Chamber of Commerce as a cheerleader for small businesses. I can't see, you can't tell that my passion comes across, but I love businesses and I love entrepreneurs, and I think that they do what they do for a passion, because they had a vision. And that is what a Chamber of Commerce does. Should be an advocate. And when a business person is running a business, that they know that there's somebody looking after them and looking for opportunities for them. And if they have any challenge, they can go to a Chamber of Commerce for support. So that's the way I look at a Chamber of Commerce. And, if I project the DC Chamber, I would like the Chamber to have support in every aspect of a business, in every aspect of the world of a business.
So what innovations or changes are you bringing to the DC Chamber?
Well, right now.
We've been there 3 months, but clearly things have changed dramatically. And what are some of the things you're doing that you're going to continue doing in the future that you didn't do before?
No, I think, really, as of now, Doc, what I've been doing in these 3 months is understanding, learning, listening, projecting, looking at projecting financials, understanding the landscape, and the chambers. I think that the chamber should continue to be a convener and a unifier. And if I look, there's so many things that can be attached to that, but that's really what we're going to strive for. And working greatly with the small businesses, providing them support. That's going to be another big initiative for us for the future, for the near future.
So we've got another question from someone about the vaccine, and the question really is, who do you trust, or how can you trust that the vaccine is going to work and be effective and be safe, and that there's surveys now saying a lot of people aren't going to take it, they're not going to give it to their children. So are you hearing that from your members? How are they dealing with this fact that we might have half the population that refuses to get a vaccine?
Yeah, I haven't really heard anything specific from my members, but I can relate to that. I mean, everybody says so many things that sometimes you don't know what's true and what's not true. I think that during this time, we have learned to deal with the virus and understand the virus better. And everybody personally has to be careful and mindful of what they do. I mean, if there's a vaccine, I always think that I have to make sure that it's something that I can put in my body, that is safe to put in my body, do the research behind it. But yes, I mean, a lot of the members that I talk to, they say, unless there's a vaccine, nothing is going to come back to normal. And I also think that even if there's a vaccine, this has affected us in a different way. That is going to take us a while to go back out there, to embrace somebody, to be with the mask off. I mean, it's not going to be like a immediate process for us. I think it's going to take some steps for us to get there. And maybe it's not going to be us. Maybe it's going to be our next generation, because we are like, I'm in a place, I mean, I don't know if this happens to you, and as much as I love people, but I'm in a place where I see my friends and I say, okay, hi, I don't want to, not because I don't want to get close, but it's just something that I mentally have, that I have to be socially responsible, and I just say hi from the distance. And if we see it, we open a window 6 feet apart, and that's like kind of my responsibility. So it's just, I don't think, it's interesting, and it's interesting also how we react and how we continue reacting to it.
So I was talking with some friends of mine a little over a month ago, and this whole topic came up, and how, who do you trust, and how can you trust a vaccine? And I kept assuring them that, from my past work, very tangentially with FDA, that there's no way the scientists and the professionals at FDA would allow anything out there that wasn't safe and effective. Mm-hmm. And I got to say, over the last week, I've been very concerned about that, where FDA's kind of being run roughshod by the White House, and we're not getting the safety mechanisms in place that we need. So it's a very disturbing time for all of us. And clearly, the answer is the vaccine. Mm-hmm. But we got to have trust in it and faith in it that it's the right one, and that it's not going to hurt us, and that it's going to work. So
yeah. And Doug, because I thought, I don't know, I was hearing the news the other day, and they're pushing for a vaccine, but it's better to take the time and do it right, because sometimes, and that's what happens in life. I mean, they push you, and then you do something that is not well done just to give something. It's better to wait and get really the right vaccine, and not just get something just to keep everybody quiet. That's not the answer either. So it's just, I'd rather them take their time. That's kind of my position. I'm saying, take your time, whatever you need to do, but do it right. It's better to wait 2 more months, 3 more months, and getting it right.
So we have a question from Elizabeth Truffa, one of our rising leaders, who wants to know about the current revenue forecast for the DC government, and clearly governments are just getting slammed all across the country in terms of their tax revenues. And they're looking to make massive cuts in different areas. And it appears that the supplemental budget for the district may really affect the human services budget. Are you all involved in advocating for a fair budget that unites everybody? Are you involved in the human services side of it as well?
I mean, we are involved on the business side mostly, but I mean, personally, I have a mindset that it has to be balanced. I think that at this point in the budget, everything is on the table. Managing expenses, and Doc, I mean, you work in government for so many years. It's not only about revenue, but it's also about managing expenses and really making sure that the services that are being provided are being managed wisely, that the money is really being used for the right services, And, it's just a budget. We actually had a meeting with the CFO yesterday, and we talked a lot about this, what is the future, where even if they do a reduction in budget, they want to make sure that services are continued to be provided. And I think that should continue to be provided. But the chamber doesn't necessarily agree is that we're going to supplement the budget, taxing businesses. But let's look really at the whole budget. Let's see what, where we can manage expenses, and then we'll see how we work together so that it's fair for everybody.
So we've got a comment or suggestion or a question from Carl Hairston to you. Has the chamber given any thought on how to best assist those businesses severely impacted by COVID-19 and help them tap into non-traditional, non-conventional sources of capital in light of the fact that a number of them may not be bankable currently? And I ask you that knowing you have a background in banking, so I'm sure you can.
Yes, no, I mean, I talk about it all the time, Carl. No, and if you have any, and this is for you, Carl, if you have ideas, please let me know. I'm always looking into traditional, non-traditional. We find a lot of businesses that are bankable, a lot of businesses that are not, but they have to start somewhere. So I'm always looking for these kind of opportunities. So absolutely, yes. And part of our plan for next year is to start to continue providing assistance to businesses, and a lot of the businesses, and especially minority businesses, because we know this affects a lot of the minorities and immigrant community because they don't have credit history, they don't have history in the United States. So that non-traditional lending is a great way it's a great approach and a great start for them. So absolutely.
Carl responded that he will get back to you. He owes you a response to.
He owes me, tell him that he owes me a couple of calls. Yes, that's okay.
So any leadership lessons that you've learned over the past several months, other than this innovation, change theme that's been running through everything we've talked about?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that I think that the biggest lesson for me was to be true to me, to who I was, connected with me, and things fall in place. That was really my lesson learned. And it's kind of, it. But when I said, I'm just gonna do what I talk about in leadership, and standing, like being true, like stopping when I felt I needed to stop, connecting with me, understanding what I was about, and everything starts falling in place. You don't have to panic. It's more about really connecting and being true to you. And in my case, I'm a woman of faith, and I just think that a lot of the things that happen to me is because of my faith. So that has been kind of the biggest lesson for me during this time.
And that is so true. I mean, that's so important to take care of yourself, because it really sends a message to the people that you work with that they need to stop and do the same thing. That if everybody's emotionally and physically just worn out, they're not helping anybody.
No.
And I sort of, my kind of usual question is, are you getting enough sleep? I mean, to me, that's a quick indication of how things are going. Are you getting enough sleep to get you through this and to take care of yourself? Or are you spending too much time awake worrying about things?
Mm-hmm.
Which is very important. So I love that lesson for us. So
yeah.
Any LGW members that have reached out to you, or you've reached out to in the past few months to help you with this?
Oh no, when I so I have my three girls, like I call them. I think Nikki's connected, Nikki Gorin and Sada and Sherry Werb. So when I heard the news, they were the first people I called.
Who are the girls? I want to hear this.
Nikki Gorin. Nikki, are you there? I think Nikki's connected.
On the line. Yeah, Nikki's
I saw
watching.
her. Sherry Werb.
Great. Yep.
And Sarah Brenner. So I called them and I said, I need to tell you something. And I called them, and it was just good to have them there. And a lot of my classmates, like Kevin Reggie was in my class, Montez Anderson was in my class, the mayor was in my class. So that creates, it has, and then, our marketing and communications firm is JR, Julie Rosenthal. And, you create a bonding that is different. I mean, you trust, you know each other, you know what you're about. And I think that makes a big difference in what we do. It makes a big difference in people getting to know who you are. And I'm going to speak for myself openly, because I always talk about this openly. But I'm not, I grew up in Colombia. I was born here, but I grew up in Colombia. So it has taken me a while to build a network. And for me, Leadership Greater Washington was a great opportunity to I don't want to use the word showcase, but to really show what I was about, and an opportunity to continue to build that trust in the community. So thank you for that.
So Nikki did on chat say she's here, and that she says you rock, Angela. So I wonder.
Nikki.
So that's great that Leadership Greater Washington's been there for you in those years, and it's been able to offer assistance. I've really found it just incredibly helpful in terms of making decisions and dealing with your mind trust, or with just your classmates or other members of LGW, of using the sounding board, using them as a kitchen cabinet, because they've got your best interest at heart. It's not they're not giving you advice on what's in it for them, or telling you what you want to hear. They're giving you the unvarnished truth, because they're looking after your interests. So that's a great part of LGW.
Absolutely. And you call somebody and you say, I'm an LGW graduate, and I'm very open. I'm like, you're LGW, you're part of my family. And I really hope, that's something that we all should do. Some people that don't stay, I haven't been able to stay and sometimes you're more involved, sometimes you're less involved. Like I really took 2 or 3 years to reconnect with myself. So I needed that time. But if people can stay involved, it's just I just see it as a great opportunity, a way of friendship, a way of support that you don't find any other place.
So do you have any good news you want to share with us? Anything other than your new report that came out yesterday?
So no, we are moving forward. We did, so we organized the virtual events. So I'm going to be fully open as well. So the first one we did was the Small Business Summit, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Everything. So we started the event and 45 minutes without sound.
Oh boy.
I just think about on virtual, when you talk about 30 seconds, it's a long time, because it's 1, 2, 3. It was 45 minutes without sound. I couldn't believe it. But then we said, okay. And then we had our state of the district, and it went very, very smooth. And now we're going to do our gala. We're going to do it virtual. It may be a mix between virtual and in person, but it's really a learning curve. And it's like, how do you connect virtually? And how do you build an event that is impactful virtually, and that people don't get bored? Because you get bored. If you get bored in person, that's the truth, right? You get bored virtually. And then on the networking piece, we're doing like member to member, small mixers, up to 10 people, where we can network, we can get to know what everybody does. And those are kind of the things that we're doing to connect in a different way.
So the member to member mixers, are they in person or are they virtual?
Virtual.
And
we're thinking about having some of those in person, but I'm not 100%. We're not like 100% there yet. I think maybe we'll start, but we're not 100% there. Are you?
No, we're not at all. There's a big worry about, it would be horrible if we held an event and somebody got coronavirus because of our event. That is something I worry about quite a bit. So we're being very, very careful, very cautious on that.
I feel the same way, like I do. I feel like asking everybody to sign a paper. It's like, you can come, but I'm not responsible. But I think, yes, I agree.
Waiver. It's called
Anyway,
a,
like,
it's called a waiver.
the way, exactly. The waiver, exactly. So anyway, but we'll see. I mean, we're not there yet, but we're gonna continue to. I mean, we're always thinking how to do the networking, even if it is virtual, that we can do a networking that is assertive, even if it is small, assertive.
And your
That's what
focus
we're
groups,
looking into.
your focus groups are all virtual as well?
The focus groups are virtual, and I love those because it's really to ask members and businesses. They don't have to be members necessarily, but like the small business groups, like for example, the business associations, the smaller, they participate, they bring their information from their businesses, and we're going to continue to do those. I love those. Those are virtual as well.
So we just did our opening retreat for the class of 2021, all virtual.
How did it go?
Experience. But one fun thing was we turned, the opening night party, turned that into an opening night virtual dance party. And we invited family members to come and be part of it. So we had a bunch of young kids there bopping around, having a great time. So that was nice. That was a whole different aspect of it that we'd never done before. So we're very pleased to do that and see the participation of the family members. That was fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I think that is a great part of what virtual is bringing. Like, you're getting to see people's faces, you're getting to see people's families. And the other thing is, I think we're more honest virtually. I was thinking about that this morning. Don't you think?
I do, actually. I do.
I didn't think about it, but this morning I said, I think I was talking to Julie, said, I think we I don't know, there's a comfort about speaking honestly.
There's an intimacy in these Zoom calls that you sort of break through things very quickly, I think.
Right? Yeah.
Classes and our programs, just in these conversations, it's really, I think it's a much different kind of talk than if we were together in a room with each other. So
I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, how can we help you? Any ways we could provide assistance to you or help you with your mission?
I think that, any ideas you have, I'm always open. I have open doors, open ears. We're in this together. So any ideas you have that we can implement, that we can do, that we can think about, please let me know. I think that the chamber is a chamber of all small, big businesses. I'm here to help. I took on because I really want to help. I want to help the mayor. I want to help the city. I want to help our small businesses. So any ideas, please let me know. That's the best way you can help me. And the other way you can help me is always tell me the truth. I don't like when people talk behind me. I'd rather you pick up the phone and say, Angela, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, and say it on my face. Like I would do. I don't like talking about behind people's back. I always, especially if it is a person that I care about, I always pick up the phone and say, can we talk about these? And that's what I would ask from all of you.
So in terms of offering suggestions, I think that was directed at Carl Hairston, just to give you another plug there, Carl. So.
Yes, exactly. For example, Carl's suggestion is great about, social services. That is something that the chamber has to think about. Absolutely. And, we care about people. So absolutely. And employees use services. So yes, we're on this together. So we're thinking about that too. So absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So how optimistic are you that we are going to hit a recovery in the next year and things are going to get back, not back to where they were, because that'll never happen, but back to a place where people are making a living and are moving out of this recession?
Well, I don't think, he is again. Vamos, no he terminado, ¿ok?
There you go. There's a kiss.
Ahorita voy, ¿ok?
Ahorita vas y me lo das.
Sí, mi amor, ahorita voy. So, sorry. Anyway. I think, well, you're talking to an optimistic. So, I think that question is like, yes, I think it's going to take some time to recover. And I think we're going to have to change. Some industries are going to flourish. Some others are going to end. Some people have been impacted greatly. Some people are gonna recover. Some is gonna take some time. But if there's, and it's gonna take time. But we are, like, and I don't see anything in the next 3 years even going back to normal.
Mm.
And especially, you're gonna see a lot of the commercial real estate in the next 3 years when people don't renew their lease, and you're gonna see, so that's Councilmember McDuffie on the state of the district. He was talking about that, and they're thinking already what are they gonna do with all the vacancies that they're projecting. So that's something, it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna shift, and we're just gonna have to have our eyes and ears open and help anybody we can on the way.
Well, one thing I love to do is go to movies, and I love watching the big screen, and I'm a huge, and I don't know if they're going to survive. I mean, Regal just announced they're closing, I think, all their theaters in North America. I'm coming, and I won't. Now right now it's temporary, but who knows? But I won't go into a movie theater till there's vaccines. I will not feel comfortable sitting with other people in a closed space unless there's a vaccine. So.
Yeah, and I agree. And now, for example, that winter is starting, restaurants that don't have an outdoors seating,
Yep.
that's going to be, I don't know.
Well, we've got a long way to go, Angela. We've got a long way to go before we get out of this. So.
We have a long ways to go, but that's what I'm saying. If we have ideas, by any means, we're willing to. We're working closely with the council in implementing different ideas. So, and they're at this point open to receive ideas or whatever we can do to help them keep the business community alive.
Well, Angela, thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you for letting us check in with you and see how the DC Chamber is doing, see how the DC economy is doing, because it really affects the entire region. If the district isn't doing well, the region's not doing well. So
yeah.
We're with you to help you. Let me just leave you with the final word.
Me?
Yes, you. Please say.
I thought you said, let me leave you with a final word like you were saying.
That's
No,
your final word.
Doug, I just want to say, thank you to Leadership Greater Washington and for what you do. I think that this specific time, leadership is critical, resilience, friendship, support, unity is critical at this point so we can move forward. I appreciate greatly the opportunity that you gave me to be here with you this morning. It's very meaningful to me. Leadership Greater Washington was very meaningful to me. It was transformational in my life. And I thank everybody for being here today. And I'm there, I'm a friend. If there's anything I can do for any of you or for you, Doug.
Angela, thank you. Thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you for being such a great part of Leadership Greater Washington. And for all of you tuning in, please come back next week. We've got another Frontline Conversation coming up. We've got some Leadership Day webinars along with member dinners and other things that are happening. So please check us out. Angela, thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.